Many empaths move through life without fully realizing that they carry a very distinct kind of presence. It is not something loud or obvious. In fact, it is often quiet and subtle. But it is there. Empaths tend to radiate an emotional openness that people, animals, and even very young children can feel. While most people think communication happens mainly through words or visible behavior, a large part of human interaction actually happens through emotional energy. Empaths naturally operate on that level, often without trying. This happens because empaths are highly aware of emotions, both their own and the emotions of others. Their nervous system is constantly reading the emotional environment around them. Because of this sensitivity, they often develop a calm and attentive presence. They listen deeply, observe quietly, and feel things that others might overlook. Over time, this creates a kind of emotional atmosphere around them that feels safe, gentle, and non-threatening. Animals and babies are especially sensitive to this kind of energy because they do not rely on social masks the way adults do. They do not analyze conversations or judge people based on status or appearance. Instead, they respond directly to emotional signals. They sense whether someone feels calm or tense, open or guarded. When they encounter an empath, they often detect a kind of emotional transparency that is rare in everyday interactions. Empaths rarely pretend to feel something they do not. Even when they try to hide their emotions, their internal awareness tends to keep them authentic at an energetic level. This authenticity creates a presence that feels predictable and safe. Animals, for example, instinctively avoid individuals who carry aggressive or chaotic energy, but they often relax around people who feel emotionally steady. In the same way, babies who are still learning how the world feels are naturally drawn to calm, nurturing emotional signals. This is why an empath may sometimes notice animals staring at them quietly or a baby looking at them with unusual focus. It is not necessarily something mystical or dramatic. It is simply that these beings are responding to the emotional tone the empath is carrying. To them, the empath presence feels easier to read and more comforting than the complex emotional signals many adults unknowingly project. The interesting part is that most empaths never consciously try to create this effect. It happens naturally because their awareness keeps them emotionally connected to the present moment. That quiet emotional openness becomes part of their aura, something others can feel even when no words are exchanged. Animals interact with the world primarily through instinct rather than words, and they are constantly scanning their environment for safety and trustworthiness. They rely on subtle cues, tone of voice, body language, breathing patterns, and overall energy to decide whether a situation is safe or threatening. Empaths by nature tend to radiate a steady, calm, and emotionally open energy, which makes them instantly recognizable as safe to creatures who operate on instinct. This is why animals often approach empaths without hesitation, even when they might shy away from other people. Empaths naturally exude an emotional transparency that animals can sense immediately. They are not hiding behind social masks or pretending to be someone they are not. Their energy is consistent with their internal state, and that authenticity resonates deeply with animals who are finely tuned to detect inconsistencies. When an empath is calm, grounded, and genuinely present, animals can perceive it as a signal that there is no threat, which encourages them to approach, observe, or even stay close. It's not only pets that respond this way. Stray animals, birds, or even wildlife can sometimes linger near an empath in ways that seem unusual. These creatures are reacting to something the empath carries, a quiet confidence, emotional neutrality, or absence of aggression that allows them to feel safe. Even animals that are naturally cautious, wary, or defensive can sometimes behave differently around an empath, sensing a presence that is nurturing rather than harmful. This effect is amplified by the empath's own awareness. Because empaths are sensitive to emotional currents, they often subconsciously regulate their own energy. They are less likely to project tension, fear, or irritability, which are cues animals pick up on quickly. Instead, the empath may exude patience and emotional steadiness, which creates an invisible aura of trustworthiness. Animals react instinctively to that energy, often with behaviors that seem almost human in their perception, staring, approaching, or even following. In essence, animals recognize empaths as safe before words or gestures ever come into play. This instinctual connection highlights the unique way empaths interact with the world. Their presence communicates calm and reliability at a level that is beyond language. When animals choose to stay near an empath, it is a reflection of the subtle, natural energy that empaths carry, one that signals protection, awareness, and a non-threatening presence. It is a silent acknowledgement of trust that most people rarely notice but is deeply felt by the animal world. Babies are incredibly sensitive to emotional energy long before they are able to understand words or reason. From the moment they are born, they are wired to read faces, listen to tone, and pick up on subtle shifts in the people around them. Their brains are absorbing emotional cues constantly, and they respond instinctively to signals of safety, warmth, and authenticity. This is why babies often stare at empaths with such intensity. Their tiny minds recognize something familiar, comforting, and emotionally honest. Unlike adults, babies do not filter what they see through social conditioning or learned expectations. They respond directly to the emotions projected around them. When an empath is present, they naturally radiate emotional transparency. They are aware of their feelings, and even if they do not verbalize them, their energy communicates calm attentiveness and sincerity. Babies sense this. They can feel when someone is emotionally grounded, when they are fully present, and when their attention is genuine. That kind of authentic presence is rare and instantly noticeable to a child whose entire world is a learning environment for trust and safety. The way empaths carry themselves often amplifies this effect. Their posture, breathing, and subtle facial expressions tend to mirror the calm they feel inside. They do not overreact, display hidden tension, or mask their emotions behind performance. This creates a predictable, stable energy that babies can read easily. When a baby sees an empath, the stillness and clarity in their presence can feel magnetic. It is not just curiosity, it is recognition. The baby senses an emotional steadiness and sincerity that resonates on a level beyond conscious thought. This connection is one of the unique gifts of being an empath. The ability to convey genuine care and calm without saying a word creates an immediate bond, even with those who cannot articulate or understand language. A baby staring at an empath is often drawn not to the physical appearance, but to the energy. The empath carries energy that signals safety, emotional authenticity, and responsiveness. Over time, this sensitivity can influence the baby's own sense of comfort and attachment. Being around an empath may make them feel secure and seen in ways that other energies do not provide. That silent recognition, the intense focused gaze, is a reflection of the baby's natural instinct to connect with emotional honesty. In these moments, the empath's aura becomes more than presence. It becomes a bridge of trust and calm that even the youngest beings can feel, long before words are ever spoken. One of the reasons animals and babies are drawn to empaths is the absence of emotional masks. Many people navigate the world constantly projecting a version of themselves they think others expect, smiling when they are frustrated, hiding fear behind bravado, or suppressing sadness to appear strong. These subtle inconsistencies create a kind of energy that is difficult for sensitive beings to trust. Animals, in particular, are highly attuned to emotional cues, and babies instinctively notice the alignment or misalignment between what someone feels inside and what they show on the outside. Empaths, by contrast, tend to radiate an emotional authenticity that is rare. Their internal state often matches what they display externally. Even when they are quiet, thoughtful, or reserved, the energy they project is consistent with what they are feeling. There is no tension between appearance and reality, and this transparency is something instinctively recognizable. Animals sense this alignment as a signal of safety. They know that the energy they are perceiving is not deceptive or unpredictable. Similarly, babies feel this congruence as a type of comfort, a sense that the person they are observing is emotionally reliable and trustworthy. This emotional consistency is not something empaths consciously create. It flows naturally from their awareness and sensitivity. Because they are attuned to their own emotions, they rarely need to pretend or cover up feelings. They move and behave in ways that are true to their inner state. That authenticity communicates stability and calmness, which is immediately appealing to beings that rely on instinct. Animals, for instance, avoid or react defensively around inconsistent energy because it signals potential danger or unpredictability. When they encounter an empath, the lack of conflicting signals makes them feel safe enough to approach, observe, or even interact. Babies respond in a similar way. Their survival depends on identifying caregivers or adults whose presence is consistent and predictable. When an empath sits quietly or interacts gently, the baby senses that there is no hidden tension or threat. The empathy, calmness, and alignment between emotion and behavior creates a magnetic quality that draws the child's attention. In essence, empaths' lack of emotional masks is like a beacon of authenticity. It allows sensitive beings, both animals and babies, to recognize them instantly as trustworthy. It is not the words they speak or the actions they take that matter most. It is the energy they carry. The clarity and honesty of that energy naturally attract beings who are tuned to perceive truth in ways that transcend language, forming connections that are immediate, instinctual, and deeply resonant. One of the most remarkable aspects of an empath's presence is the natural calm they bring into any space. This calmness is not forced or performed. It is an extension of their emotional attunement and awareness. Because empaths are deeply sensitive to the energies around them, they often regulate their own emotions in ways that minimize tension. They notice subtle shifts in the environment and adjust naturally, not to manipulate, but to create balance. This quiet, steady energy is felt by animals and babies alike, drawing them in and often making them stare with curiosity or comfort. Animals, for example, are constantly evaluating safety through instinct. Even pets that are normally skittish or nervous can sense when an empath is nearby and recognize a lack of threat. The empath's calm energy communicates stability. It signals that there is no need for defensive behavior, no reason to hide, and no unpredictable reactions to anticipate. This makes animals feel safe enough to approach, observe, or simply linger near the empath. In many ways, the empath's presence creates an emotional environment where instinctual caution is no longer necessary. Babies respond similarly, though in a slightly different way. They are highly attuned to facial expressions, tone of voice, and subtle emotional cues. When a baby sees an empath, they often notice the absence of agitation, tension, or emotional inconsistency. The empath's calmness acts as a stabilizing force for the baby's own emotions. It signals safety and warmth, which encourages the baby to focus, engage, and even stare in fascination. This effect is heightened because babies have not yet developed the filters or defenses that older children and adults use. They respond instinctively to emotional consistency. The natural calm that empaths exude is a product of both sensitivity and intentional self-regulation. They may not even be aware that they are projecting this energy, but it is an outcome of being in tune with themselves and their surroundings. Unlike those who carry internal chaos or hidden tension, empaths move through life with an energy that is steady, grounding, and emotionally transparent. This calm presence becomes magnetic to beings who are attuned to emotion rather than words. Animals and babies alike are drawn to the empathy, warmth, and stability that empaths naturally carry. It is not about what they say or do. It is about the emotional energy they radiate. In spaces where empaths are present, instinct and intuition recognize comfort and safety, creating a connection that transcends language, logic, or conscious thought. The empath's calmness is both a gift and a bridge, inviting the most sensitive beings in the world to respond and connect on a deep instinctual level. The sensitivity that allows empaths to draw animals and babies toward them is a unique gift, but it also comes with a responsibility. Being acutely aware of emotional energy means that empaths absorb more than they release. They feel the moods, tensions, and even unspoken anxieties of those around them, which can be exhausting if they are not careful. Their presence is magnetic because it is emotionally honest and calming, but that same openness leaves them vulnerable to taking on the stress or negativity of others. Understanding this dual nature is essential for an empath to honor their own well-being while appreciating the connections they naturally form. This responsibility begins with awareness. Empaths need to recognize that their aura impacts those around them in subtle yet powerful ways. Animals sense safety and authenticity, and babies respond to warmth and consistency. But not every interaction is harmless. If an empath is emotionally depleted, anxious, or tense, the energy they project can have the opposite effect, creating unease or confusion. By maintaining emotional clarity, they ensure that their sensitivity remains a gift rather than a burden. Part of this responsibility is learning to set energetic boundaries. Just as they naturally attract creatures who are drawn to authenticity, they also attract environments and people who are drawn to emotional openness, sometimes without reciprocation. Empaths must develop discernment to protect their energy, ensuring that the attention and connection they offer are not drained by those who exploit their sensitivity. This does not mean withdrawing from the world, but rather engaging with awareness and intention. At the same time, the ability to connect instinctively with animals and babies is profoundly rewarding. These interactions are pure, without hidden agendas or emotional games. They remind empaths of the power and beauty of authentic presence. Observing how animals relax or how a baby gazes with trust reinforces the empath's own sense of emotional alignment and purpose. By balancing awareness with compassion for themselves and others, empaths can honor both the gift and the responsibility of their sensitivity. They can continue to radiate calm and authenticity while protecting their own energy, creating spaces of trust and safety wherever they go. The connections they form with the most instinctively sensitive beings in the world become a mirror, showing them the strength, clarity, and emotional wisdom that comes from embracing their unique aura. In understanding this dynamic, empaths learn that their gift is both a bridge and a boundary, a source of connection and a reminder of the care their own energy deserves.